If you've seen these two videos, then you'll know that I'm quite a big fan of that Game Pass thing that Xbox has been shoving down everyone's throats for the last few years. I just think it's a really good service. It's well priced, it's got a great library, it's consistently improving over time. I'm dreading the day when Microsoft finally decides that enough is enough and doubles the price tag, but for now, this is pretty cool. Good job, Phil. So when Sony wandered in one day and was like, "Oi, we got our own Game Pass now, and this is the first time we've tried this, we've never done this previously," I thought, alright, how bad could it be? PlayStation has completely dropped the ball so far this generation, but a subscription service isn't that hard. Just chuck some decent games in a library and don't overcharge me for them. Pretty simple. And you know what? This could have been a lot worse. There's a bunch of big names in here, some day one releases, some stuff that I wanted to try but didn't want to put down £70 fucking for. I've been having a bunch of fun playing through Returnal. Demon's Souls was entertaining for 5 minutes, Stray was pretty good. The organisation is decent, it's not a buggy mess, games are on the service for longer than 3 months, well most of them. £15 well spent. Will I be spending any more than £15 though? No. PS Plus is kinda, and you won't believe this, half-baked. On the surface it looks polished and thought through and a serious competitor to Game Pass, but the second you take the time to look at it in any level of depth, you realise just how shallow it is. As a service that I can dip in and out of depending on if Sony decides to dump a couple games I care about on here, then it's fine, good job Jim, but that's not really the end goal, is it? These companies want to keep people subscribed, they want to keep draining you of money, and this? Well, this is not going to drain anyone of anything. What's the hook here? What's the thing that's going to convince me that this is a worthwhile investment? Game trials? Ubisoft Plus classics? Game Pass figured out their hook years ago. A very straight-to-the-point hook. 7 sweet, succulent words.
Play it day one with Game Pass.
The amount of dopamine that gets injected into my bloodstream whenever I watch an Xbox conference and see all the games I won't have to buy this year is unmatched by anything. Xbox could announce they're gonna kill my whole family, but as long as it's releasing day one on Game Pass, I'd be a happy boy. It's got to the point now where this is the main thing I get excited for when E3 time rolls around. Not Nintendo or PlayStation, it's the Microsoft how many games can we realistically give away and not increase the subscription cost event. I would have happily bought Psychonauts 2 or Halo Infinite's campaign when they came out, but they put them day one on Game Pass. So great, the subscription just paid for itself. Starfield, Redfall, Somerville, Atomic Heart, High on Life, Slime Rancher 2, Stalker 2, Silksong, like I would have wanted to buy all of these, and now I just have them. For most subscriptions, you have to justify their usefulness. Do I really need Disney Plus when I only watch one movie on it? Not this one, this is borderline robbery, it's such a good deal, until the inevitable price hike. Now PlayStation, so far, has had one day one game. And yeah, it's a good game. No fucking God of War 2 though. I really like this console, I like how the controller goes vroom. Do I ever play anything on it though? Fuck no, I already sold one kidney for the thing, I can't give away another for the privilege of playing a new AAA game on it. That new Horizon looks sick, not £70 sick. That new God of War looks sick, not £70 sick. That new Last of Us remake looks sick, not... Wait, is it? Oh my god, Sony, what the fuck? So here's a cool idea. Copy Microsoft's homework and put them on your brand new subscription service. I might actually give you money then, stacks of the stuff. If I don't feel like I'm being ripped off, then I do have a tendency to open my wallet. Oh wait, no sorry, you can't do that because the way our publishing model works right now, putting new games straight into PS Plus doesn't make any sense. Then why the fuck? Why? Why did you make a subscription? What was the fucking point? Right, Sony can't justify putting first-party games in here on release day. That's really stupid, but I get it. Profit margins. They could have easily priced this service like Microsoft does to make it more profitable, but they didn't think that far ahead, so fine. What about everything else though? Third-party stuff, indies, AA. What's the excuse for putting out one day one game in the same amount of time Xbox put out 12? You could argue quality control, but Game Pass consistently releases quality day one releases regardless of their schedule. Laziness then, that's the excuse. Alright then, Sony can't justify day one first party games, and can't be bothered to do day one anything else. Fine, but Surely they could justify adding games a year after they came out. Surely that's reasonable. Surely that makes sense. No, apparently not. There's exclusives that came out a year ago that aren't on here. There's exclusives that came out when the system fucking released that aren't on here. There's exclusives that came out before the system fucking released that aren't on here. I don't think it'll be a massive loss if you put Sackboy on here, Sony. I don't think that'll hurt the bank. I don't think that'll trigger a knock-on effect. Right. So if PlayStation's angle for this service isn't to entice you with new stuff, then what is it? Maybe they're trying to do the Nintendo thing and sell you on their classic library. I mean, if they put enough effort into that, then that could be great. The PlayStation back catalogue is ridiculous. Metal Gear Solid, Crash, Spyro, Tomb Raider, Eco, Ape Escape, Devil May Cry, Gran Turismo, God of War, Twisted Metal, Silent Hill, the Resident Evil games, Jak and Daxter. A collection of all, even some of those games, would be fantastic, and it's clearly something Sony's interested in. They just set up a new preservation team, they put out the PS Classic a few years ago, the PS Vita has tons of PS1 games available, and they're charging more for this. This is £20 a year more than the rest of the library. So surely, this is where the money's at. What? This is a joke. This can't be their launch lineup. Someone must have made a mistake. They can't have dropped the ball this badly. Oh, okay. So this is bad, really bad, somehow worse than anything Nintendo has attempted over the last few years. At least Nintendo has games in their catalogues that are well known, and define the system they're on. They horribly failed everywhere else, but at least I can play Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country, Mario 64, Majora's Mask, even Banjo-Kazooie's on there. Here's that list of defining PS1 and PS2 games I listed earlier. Here's how many are actually on here. How did they mess up this badly? You own the rights to half of these, Sony. How about the emulation quality then? Well, I'm not qualified for this, so... Digital Foundry says it's bad, so I'm just going to take their word for that. In Europe, most of the games are still running the PAL versions, so 50Hz, and thus literally run slower than the NTSC versions. Why isn't there a toggle? Nintendo figured this out, and they never figure anything out. You are being more nonsensical than this company, Sony. PS3's a little better, mainly because this is basically just the PS Now library ported over, and they're not being emulated, they're running natively. How, you may ask? Streaming. Sony made a console so backwards that even the people who made it can't figure out how to emulate it, so they just took out the PS3 components and shoved them in a server rack. That's literally what they did. And because these aren't being emulated, they still run at PS3 quality, which is more often than not, shit. Plus, you've got all the other streaming problems, input lag, dropped frames, degraded visuals, a reliance on your fucking internet connection. This is the worst way to play anything. Thankfully, there's not a lot to play in the first place. When PlayStation announced this collection, they claimed that there would be up to 340 classic games on top of the 400 in the rest of the set. Wondering where the fuck all those games are? Remasters. Hundreds of remasters. They realised their classics library was terrible, so they just cut out every game in the rest of the catalogue that had the word remastered in it and dumped it in here. On paper, that makes sense. In a boardroom, that makes sense. But in practice, this is an awful idea implemented terribly. Here I am browsing, I just spotted Gravity Rush 2. Where's the first one, though? Well, wouldn't you know, it's actually in the remaster section that is locked off unless you spend more money. Great, thanks. But what's this? A bunch of old Final Fantasy games are just sitting in the normal section, even though they're very clearly remasters. And hang on, Tearaway Unfolded is in here too, even though it's just a remaster of the original PS Vita version, just like Gravity Rush. And why is Hotline Miami in the remasters section? It's a port, not a remaster. By that logic, Terraria should be in there too, but it's not. Mafia 1 is a remake, not a remaster. I understand 2, but why 1? Far Cry 3 is just sitting in the normal section with Saints Row 3 and a bunch of old Assassin's Creed games. Why? And there's still no Crash or Spyro in here. How did you make a PlayStation Classics library with no Crash or Spyro? Oh yeah, compare that to Game Pass, where there's no restrictions and everything is together and you can just play anything without having to pay for a higher tier to access it. Or Switch Online, where there's different tiers, but the difference between them is quite obvious and clear, and it's impossible to be confused. It's not hard, Sony. Right, so they bodged Day 1 games, They bodged their classics, they bodged pretty much everything else, but maybe they managed to curate a catalogue of games that is at least slightly interesting beyond the most surface level. No, not really. Game Pass has a feature where you can add games to a play later list so you can keep track of what you actually care about in a sea of Peppa Pig and Paw Patrol. In that list, after 3 years of working through it and playing a bunch of stuff, I still have about 60 games. And there's loads of variety in there. Shooters, RPGs, immersive sims, platformers, survival games, management sims, open world stuff. PS Plus, and this is in the whole catalogue, including a game that they actually forgot to include in the library, you have to search for it to find it. 19 games. That's it. In a library of 700, 19 is all I care about. To be fair, a ton of these I've already played or already own, but I'm willing to bet that most people have already played them too. God of War, the Uncharted series, The Last of Us, Bioshock, Spider-Man, Red Dead 2, Bloodborne, Control. Even once you start looking at the indie games, it's 90% safe bets. Celeste, Terraria, Slime Rancher, Overcooked, Dead Cells, City Skylines, Hollow Knight, like, all great stuff. But if you're at the point where you're paying £100 a year for a gaming subscription, you've probably played these. Beyond that, it's slim pickings, an avalanche of Ubisoft shit, an avalanche of other shit, a ton of games that have already been given away for free in other places, or even on PS Plus before, the pre-established null and void classics library, and then whatever else Sony could find at CEX. And that's it. That's the library. Great job, Jim. So, the goal of this subscription is just to be a catalogue of very popular, well-received PlayStation exclusives, and not much else. Isn't that just what the PS Plus collection was? Remember that? That benefit that was added alongside the PS5 coming out, that was meant to entice people who missed the PS4 generation. It was like 20 games. God of War, The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, Monster Hunter. Wait, what happened to that actually? Wait, they still fucking have it! It's still a thing! If you're paying for the Essential tier, you still have access to all of these. So what's the fucking point of this service? What is the benefit of it? Why did they invest all this money into it if they were just gonna do nothing new and just waste everyone's time? Alright, yeah. I'm not denying that there's good stuff in here, because there is. But if you're building a subscription like this, you need more than just the bare minimum. If Game Pass was just Halo, just Forza, just some Bethesda shit and a couple indies, no one would care. Who do you know who subscribes to EA Play or Ubisoft Plus? No one, because there isn't enough content there and there isn't enough variety. It's the density and curation of Game Pass that makes it so compelling. The fact that 100 different people could be subscribed to it for entirely different reasons is why it's been so successful. It's not just a subscription for Xbox games, it's a subscription for games, and if you enjoy those, you'll probably get something out of it.
What the fuck?
I never used to care about Xbox. Xbox was a punchline. Xbox was the game company who forgot to make any games. I don't have an Xbox One. I had absolutely no interest in anything Microsoft was putting out, but Game Pass managed to hook me in and got me to appreciate a whole wealth of games that I never would have before. And I imagine that's the same for a lot of people. There's a reason Xbox is doing so much better in this generation than they were the last, and it's not because of the exclusives, it's not because of the fucking name or people thinking the design looks sick. It's because of this. This? Who's gonna buy a PlayStation for this?